Hello. I am just testing out the equipment here. If you guys can hear me and see me, can you hear me, Lisa? You hear? Does it come in pretty clear? Sound is good. Yeah, I'm turning the computer a little this way because the sun's behind me and it just makes everything dark. Hold on. Yeah.
I'm gonna be running my mixer, so it's gonna be a loud noise, is that
Oh yeah.
okay to do it now?
Yeah. I'm just doing this as a test run right now.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just wanna be sure I wasn't interrupting anything.
Yeah. So special thank you to Annie. And I don't have anything on the agenda. We're doing the live stream. We're doing the roundtable tonight. So, Steven, I don't have any agenda tonight. So if you guys have questions, just shoot them, fire them to me. And you know what's crazy is that I was trying to get. I ordered the first laptop I had put on order through Amazon. It was I guess the seller didn't have it, and they kept kicking the order back, saying that they didn't, that it was my bank, and I was like, no, it's not the bank, because I had just ordered something else, and then it come to find out that I don't think the seller had the model, because the model I was looking at was really kind of like fast, and it had all the RAM was where I wanted it to be, and the drive and the processing speed and all that kind of stuff, and then got that order canceled, went to a different order or to a different seller to look at a very similar laptop. I think it was the same model, and they couldn't get it. So I ended up having to get like a gaming computer almost. So this thing is like, should be super fast. So has anyone figured out what the 7 years of burning weapons looks like? It looks like 7 years of burning weapons. I mean, I think it's going to be sometime between the rapture and the 70th week. Hold on, my phone's blowing up here too. All right, what we got? Yeah, so the roundtable will be on Britt Gillette's and then John's channels tonight. If you guys, either one of those, I think will get you to it. Hey, Kylie, enjoying your articles. If you haven't checked out Kylie's articles on Substack, I think I posted it on Telegram. What's the name, Kylie, of your Substack? Is it just Kylie.Baldwin? Aaron from New Zealand. Hello, Aaron. Yeah, I'm actually going to comb my hair and try and look decent tonight. Look more professional for the roundtable. Charlotte asks, why does the Bible say, don't go back to your house for your coat after the abomination? Okay, it's to the fullest, cultivating boundless wonder on Substack. Let me see if I can find that link. Cultivating balance. There it is. Yeah. So you just mouse I got's very sensitive though. Okay, there's Kylie's Substack. If you're on Substack, I recommend you check her out. That whoever asked a question about going back for your coat, Charlotte, that is for the Jewish people inside the 70th week, because that's speaking specifically to those in Jerusalem and Israel, because it's telling them, woe to those whose travel is on the Sabbath, or if this happens on the Sabbath, or the wintertime, or the women are pregnant or something, that this is going to be a very, very difficult time. But that's for those inside the 70th week. It is what it is. Mexico, what's up? Jay Ozuna. Lisa, I asked the question to our mutual friend, and we'll see. I'm waiting for him to get back to me on that. From Johannesburg. Hey, what's going on, Ben? Diana Guerrero. Seeing some new faces on here. That's awesome. Florida Mermaid. Shamrock. Kathy Heater. Sarah Misfit Montanari. Did I say that right? Montanari. I think I'm saying that right. Hey Keegan, how are you? I'm trying to get Lauren on. She's super busy now. She's too busy for me. No, I think we got something scheduled for mid October. So I've got to get fit into her schedule now. Rhonda says, if the Jews are deceived into thinking the Antichrist is the Messiah, why are they shocked when he reveals himself and demands worship in the temple? So my theory on this, and this is just a theory, is that the Jewish Israel, and I'm talking about non-Messianic Jews. I'm talking about like Jews that are either secular or in Judaism, in the varying, Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, etc. I'm thinking that they're thinking that the Gog and Magog war is like their Armageddon, since they don't recognize the New Testament. And it seems like that after God supernaturally delivers them from the hordes, coming, the Muslim hordes coming against them from all the directions, they think they're done. So they think, if you're looking at Ezekiel and you're kind of following it chronologically, we see 36 and 37 is the restoration of Israel, 38, 39 is Gog Magog, and then 40 through 48 is their temple. It's all about their newly rebuilt temple. So it may be that they think they're done, and at the end of that, because the U.S. probably won't be in the picture, Islam as a militant force in the world will be kind of neutralized or neutered. And to me, that seems like that's the time when Europe kind of rises up, or Europe gets its own version of Donald Trump. And the Jews also don't believe that their Messiah was, God incarnate. They only believe monotheistically, in the sense they don't believe in the Trinity. So they just believe that God is spirit, the Father. And so the Antichrist will be a political leader. Of course, they don't recognize the Antichrist because that's more of a New Testament concept. They don't know it by that name. So they're not seeing this full picture that we're getting in the New Testament. So they're looking at him as a man. So when he goes in and defiles their temple, he then demands himself to be worshipped. That's the shock to them. Renee says, lots of debate lately on who's actually saved. Heiser says Mormons are saved because they believe in Jesus on the cross, salvation through blood. I'm tired of critical Christians are Mormons and false. Critical Christians are Mormons and false prop. Hey, look, I went through this the other night on Monday night, through the glass darkly. But when you look at some of the fundamental things, there's like 5 fundamental things that make you a Christian, a truly biblical Christian, right? Like a Christian that believes in the true Jesus and the true God of the Bible. And there's like 4 or 5 things out of there that the Mormons get completely wrong. For one, the Jesus they worship isn't the Jesus of the Bible. Number two, that they believe that God the Father was a man, and that he was a man and then was exalted to godhood at some point and by some other God. And so God, this newly exalted God man, and Mary had did the deed, and then through that came Jesus. And so Jesus was born, or it's some type of physical interaction, as opposed, I'm sorry, I'm kicking this table all over the place. It was some kind of physical interaction, sexual interaction that allowed for Jesus to be born, and we know that's not the case. The Holy Spirit overshadowed Mary and caused the act of impregnation without the actual act. It didn't need to, because it just needed to spark the spark of life inside of her. And that's how there is the virgin birth. So they deny that. They deny salvation by grace through faith. For them, it's salvation by grace through faith. After all, you can do. And that's in Nephi 25, I think 23 or 32. So they're fundamentally wrong on just the very basics of Christianity. And they're good people, man. I know a lot of Mormons, and I've had them from neighbors. I mean, they are wonderful, terrific people, unless you're a Mormon and you leave the Mormon faith, and then you're an apostate and you're cast out of their community. And then they can be pretty harsh to those people. But let's see. Sarah, hey, Mary. Okay, I'm going to try and do some of these. Let's see, questions. Sarah said I was close. Montanari. Always try to get the Italian sounding names, because I like to say them. I like to try them. Let's see. Thank you, beloved child Mary. Charlotte, Pete, on the abomination question. Scott Townsend said he believes the Bible says, "Do not go back to your house." Is AI related? But I don't understand. Yeah, I don't have to ask him that. I don't know what he means by that. What time is the round table tonight? It's 7 Eastern, 6 Central, and what is that, 5 Mountain Time, 4 Pacific Time. Oh, what's up, Tyler? Tyler's in the house. Oh, man. Let's see. Okay. Dimtria Mackey. Hi from the Bahamas. Hey, Dimtria. Hopefully you guys aren't going to get too much rain from all these hurricanes out there floating around. Keegan, you can pray that, Sir Pierce, the lighting will be, obviously the sun is behind me right now, so it's too bright, but as it gets darker, obviously the lighting will get better on this, but sorry, somebody's got a blender going downstairs. Just pray that I can find a job in here in the North Texas area that keeps me here, because on the 12th, after Proxy Watchers, I go back on the market to FEMA, so I may end up back in a hotel room again, some part of the States, who knows. What is a Christian? I don't think you're qualified to teach, Pete, you or Tyler. Thank you for your opinion. Gerard J. Ozuna, what is this channel is the roundtable on? Kevin C. The roundtable is on Britt Gillette's and John Holler's channel. Let's see who else we got here. Jacked. What is your opinion on Psalm 83 with Hamas not getting or not agreeing on the latest agreement? Do you think this could be the setup for Psalm? I think Psalm 83 started in 1948 and has been ongoing ever since. So it's possible that it's a prayer, but it's also possible it's a prophecy. But I mean, if we just look back historically, we can see that Israel's been in a battle since day one. So slowly but surely, they've been removing the threats around them, expanding their territory back to even just the 1920 boundaries that were initially agreed upon. That the San Remo conference and other ones, or I don't know if it was at San Remo, but it was right around that time period where the World League of Nations at the time violated that agreement. Initially, they gave them Judea and Samaria, and Transjordan was the kingdom for that. Was when they did the partitioning in 1920, at least on paper. Transjordan was going to be the Arab state, and then Israel, all of Israel, was supposed to be the Jewish state. And then somewhere in that process, in that year between 20 and 22, the Arabs pressured the Brits into giving them all of the Judea and Samaria area. So that's why when Israel became the nation in 1948, you had that big chunk of their heartland cut out there in the middle, which they were able to secure back in 1967 in the Six-Day War, but not totally. And I'm of the look. I know that Trump said he is against annexation. I absolutely think annexation has to happen, and it's going to happen. And if we look at Trump's track record domestically, it's pretty good. Like if he says he wants to do something, they're going to do it, or it's going to get done. Maybe not right away, but it happens. But internationally, I mean, Trump's 50-50 at best of predicting and calling things out. He's going to end the war in Ukraine. Okay, well, that didn't end. He's going to do this. He's going to. It's really not up to him. As much as he thinks it is. Okay, obscure references. Just curious to people who believe that the book of Revelation has to be in chronological order, then I guess we're going to pretend that Revelation 12 sign wasn't already fulfilled in 2017. I don't think Revelation 12 was fulfilled in 2017. Maybe the astronomical sign was arrayed in such a way, but the fulfillment of Revelation 12 has not happened yet. But as far as it being chronological, it is chronological, but there are expansions. There's certain chapters that are expanded upon, and those are not chronological. So, for example, Revelation 1, 2, and 3 are chronological. Revelation 4 and 5 are in heaven. So now you're moving out of time and space into the eternal realm, but that's still chronological in that sense. Then you have the opening of the seals 1 through 6 or 1 through 7. Those are chronological. Now the question is, once those seals are open, do they stay open like the first 4? Because the riders on the white, red, black, and pale horses seem to ride through the duration, at least the white horse for sure. And then the question becomes, is the white horse, is that the man or is it the system? And I'm kind of leaning toward the system. But then you get to like Revelation 7. That's an expansion on something that was happening. Revelation 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 are all expansions on things that are going on both on heaven and earth. And then 16 is the bowl judgments, and then from there it's still chronological. We have military in Venezuela, Middle East, and Europe. What will pop off first, in your opinion? I think the Venezuela stuff will pop off first, actually. I think so. I did a discussion, I don't know how long ago it was now, a year or two, talking about the multi-front wars. And so in World War II, we had two big theaters. We had the European theater and the Pacific theater. And I think what we could see in not too distant future, if the rapture doesn't happen and we're still here and things keep playing out, you have two theaters. You have the Asian theater the Pacific theater, and then you have the European theater. Then you could also have a third with the Middle East. But I think the Middle East is not quite there yet. That's not going to really come back up until Gog Magog. But if you had the Pacific theater, that could be a two-front theater. You could have what's going on with North Korea. They can decide to attack South Korea. And I'm saying they will, but I'm saying it's a possibility. And then also China with Taiwan. And then in the European side, you could have Russia, because Russia right now is violating everybody's airspace from Estonia to Poland to, it seems like, I don't know if it's Denmark, somebody's flying drones, doing crazy stuff. So NATO's on high alert there. But to me, Venezuela is kind of the low-hanging fruit. That's the easiest of those to deal with. And it would be good to get that dealt with prior to these other things happening. Okay. Jews have to still be in the West Bank during abomination of desolation per Matthew 24. I think they will have annexed it by before then. Project R21. Yeah, I would absolutely contact your sheriff and be like, what gives? File a complaint with your sheriff's department. Unless it's the sheriff's SWAT team that's out there doing it. You still file a complaint, but you didn't give them access to your land. Let's see. Yeah, R21. It could be a bunch of LARPers out there. Who knows? Parenthetical chapters are interposed. Thank you. Parenthetical insertions is what I think Andy Woods calls it. And speaking of the geopolitical stuff, I plan on having a friend of mine on in the middle to late month, and this guy is very good. So I'm very excited about that. So we're working on the material now. Jan, Renee, Christine. Hey, Christine. I don't think I've ever said hi to you before. I've got Coco in the house, Karen, RS. Okay. Panache Fabian, what's going on? Down under. I like your studio, by the way. That's pretty nice. Simon. All right. Well, hey, again, I didn't have any agenda coming on tonight. I was just testing all this system out, trying it live and see how it works, and trying to read all the comments here. Misha's on. Hey, Misha. And Misha's been putting out, I don't know if you've got one or two, but you started doing the Psalms ones again, the Psalms readings. I like those. She keep doing this. Sir Pierce, nah, don't worry about that tonight. When I do when I put together an actual program, we can do all that. This is just me kind of goofing around on here. Yeah. Well, my other computer is, where I put it? It's about 4 or 5 years old. So I guess in computer years, that's like pretty ancient. And then I was checking out the RAMs, like how many gigabytes you need for just to kind of even have normal a live stream, because I don't game on here or anything like that, but like just to do a live stream. And mine was like 8 gigabytes, and I think you need it to be at like at least 15 or 16 gigabytes, and this is above that. So hey Daniel, what's up? Gnarly News, Paulina, Oh, hey, Paulina. Paulina, hello. Yes, it's working great. From Jeff, question: do you think after the rapture, the Holy Spirit will allow our domesticated animals to become feral? This came to me after reading Revelation 6:8. So my thoughts are, I don't think animals are raptured, and I'm absolutely positively convinced we will see them again. But I do think that animals will very much become either feral or hostile after the rapture. And it's kind of a reversal of the Noahic covenant God created with Noah. Before the Noahic covenant, the animals seemed to be very docile, and it was at Genesis 9 that when after the flood, God tells them, "Here are some changes that are going to happen, and the animals are going to. I'm going to put the fear of man into animals." And I think that fear is going to be amplified when we get into after the rapture, that animals are going to be naturally incredibly hostile, that people just to be left alone if at all possible. But it could be that the angels do something with them, shelter them, protect them. I don't know. But I am very convinced that we will see them again. And I posted that thing on Telegram. It's Billy Graham's message about that, and I 100% agree with him. Pamela. Hey, Pamela, Janet. From Barbara, is it normal to feel like I'm done? I just want to go home and be with the Lord? Yep. I felt like that since about 2011. uh, and I don't know if this was a dream or a vision, or I have no idea what it was, and I don't think I've told I think a couple people know about this, but I don't know how old I was. I must have been like 6 or 7, maybe 8. And we were coming back from Madisonville, and it was late at night, and I think we stopped at a rest area, and I was in the back of the car, and I think somebody was using the restroom. And I just remember seeing a whole line of animals running together. And I mean, it was animals that normally would not, associate with each other, from like wolves to deers to like cougars to rabbits to everything was just kind of, and they weren't like panicked running, but they were just kind of moving out together peacefully. And I don't know what that meant, and I don't, put anything to it, but obviously this was well before I really knew anything about the Bible. And that was to Karen about the crazy animal dreams, or the dreams about animals. What are your thoughts on comments and the earthquake uptick? Edward McKelvey. I absolutely think that the earthquakes are maybe not associated with the comets, but we're in a very active solar maximum right now, and the sun is just going bonkers. I mean, the sun just shot this massive X-class flare directly at the 3i Atlas. So the sun is incredibly active right now. So I think the sun has a lot to do with the magnetic polarization, everything in the sun. I think a lot of that has to do with how that impacts the Earth and in the Earth's geological activity, with the crust of the Earth. But solar maximums, I absolutely would see that tied to the increased earthquake activity over than say a comet or anything like that, unless the comet came incredibly close to the Earth. Let's see. From Shannon, Pete, curious as to what you think of Jared Kushner and Tony Blair's partnership in the latest deal. I think any deal that takes Israel's land and gives it to somebody else, and I know, Gaza has been given to the Arabs going back to 2006. But like, I mean, just the land in general, I think it's bad for us. I think that the nations that have signed on to dividing the land of Israel or creating a Palestinian state, look, I'm all for a Palestinian state. I mean, they absolutely could create a Palestinian state. I mean, they already did with Jordan, Transjordan, but they can create a Palestinian state. Just you can't put it inside of Israel. Put it back in Jordan, or put it in Egypt, or put it in Saudi Arabia. Give them their own little, carve out a little slice of Saudi Arabia for them. They can have a Palestinian state right there. But I don't trust Jared Kushner, and I definitely don't trust Tony Blair. And I think that this is somehow, some way, this is going to be part of whatever prophetic deals going forward that divide the land, that end up working against Israel. Patrick, question: will all believers reign with Christ by virtue of being saved, or is that something earned like the crowns? I think there'll be status or tiers within the saints, the church, the body of Christ, in terms of faithfulness and reward. If you go to Luke 12, when Jesus is talking about the good and faithful servants, that they will be, and not just there, but other passages, that to their faithfulness, God gave them this, they were faithful in that, so God will give them this. And then somebody that's done more, he's given more because he was faithful with more, etc. I think that was a parable of the talents. So absolutely, I believe that there's going to be different structures within the sainthood. The saints will all be saved, and we're all saved by grace through faith and trust and belief in Jesus Christ. But the structure inside of the church after the rapture, some will have many rewards, and some will have, they'll basically make it by the skin of their teeth. So, but they'll still be saved. So I do think there'll be different reigning and ruling tiers, if you will. What do I think about the pact between U.S. and Qatar? I don't trust Qatar at all. I don't think that that's a good deal at all. I think Trump is, when it comes to dealing with the kingdoms there, the Qatar, Dubai, Bahrain, any of those little, Saudi Arabia, you just can't trust them, because they have their own agendas, and they're funding terrorist organizations like crazy, and trying to establish Sharia law everywhere. Like, that stuff's still going on with them. So they use all that wealth to promote the Islamification of whatever, Texas, England, all over. So I don't like them, and I don't trust them in terms of a political movement. Yeah, Tony Blair is slimy. Hey, Diane, it's good to see you. Melissa, yep, tonight there will be one. Let's see. Annie's in the house. Aloha, Annie. Kelly Schultz. Hey, Kelly. Southern Sunshine. Southern Sunshine. Question from God's Child Forever. Hey, Pete, good to see you. Question: Nelson Walters, I can't talk tonight, put out a video stating time to change your rapture theory. I'm pre-trib and not standing firm. What do you say? I say the pre-tribulation rapture is the only biblical possibility for the rapture in the Bible. So we know 100% that the rapture will happen, because the rapture is not the second coming. There's 20 or more very distinct differences between the rapture and the second coming. So we know there is a rapture. In terms of when the rapture happens, pre, mid, pre-wrath, or post, the only one that is biblical is the pre-tribulation. The only way that it can be imminent is if it happens before the 70th week begins. And the 70th week is the most chronicled, marked time in the entire Bible. It's broken into two 1,260-day periods, time times half a time. It's 42 months. It's chocked full of 225 days altogether, or 2,550 days. Is that right? 2,500. Anyways, it's two 1,260-day periods, 3.5 year blocks, full of 21 signs. You have a clearly defined midpoint, so you know from the midpoint to the end is exactly 1,260 days. So the only position, the only one that can even be possible is the pre-tribulation position. And when we look at the tribulation, the real official name of that is Daniel's 70th week. It's a period of 7 years. When you look at the first 69 weeks of Daniel's 70 weeks, Daniel 9:24 through 27, it has nothing to do with the church. It's all about Israel, and it's about Jerusalem. Daniel's his people and his holy city, which is Jerusalem. 500 and something years before the church even anybody even knew what the church was or had any idea what it was. But yeah, the church has no time or place or role to play inside of the 70th week whatsoever. So when you understand that, you understand that that once this age of the church is over with, this dispensation of the church is done, God returns his focus back to the nation of Israel to finish those promises that he gave them in the Old Testament, because God's not a liar. He's going to complete exactly what he said. We know that God has a future plan for Israel still from the time of Paul till the second coming. And you can see that in Romans 11. So we know there's still a future role for them to play, and that God's going to turn his focus back to them. 25:20, that's what it is. Yeah, the 1260 and 1290. So there is, when you read Daniel, there is an additional, 75 days? There's 30 days, and then I think another 45 days or 70. I don't know. I have to go back, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but it ends up being like 1,335 days in total. So I think those are times that you can either tack it on to the end or make one half bigger than the other half. But either way, the start of that is the 70th week itself is 1,200, or it's 1,200. I'm getting all mixed up. 2,520 days. What's going on, Cherry? If you read Jeremiah 37 through 11, it speaks about the time of Jacob's trouble. We know Jacob's name was changed to Israel, so it's the time of Israel's trouble. And some people think that's only the last 3.5 years, possibly. I think it's kind of the whole time, but that focus, what happens there is that God destroys all the nations in the world, the current global structure, the world order. And through all that, he disciplines the nation of Israel, but they survive through it. So the rest of the world is, we still have nations. So this hasn't happened yet. I have a friend who is in families in Israel. They told her the third temple is almost complete. They've been working on this in private. How could you? That doesn't make any sense, Chris. No offense to your friend, but it's got to be on the Temple Mount. I mean, we would know. They might have gotten all the materials and everything ready to go. Maybe that's what they meant on the materials. Is that what they're talking about? And as far as the rapture, the issue that happens with these people like Joshua and whoever else comes out, and they come out and they say it's absolutely going to happen on this date. every single time. All that does is cause division in the community, and it gives the mockers fuel to just bash and trash the pre-tribulation position. Now I hold that we can't know the day or the hour, but we should be able to know we're in the season. And even then, I think we might even be able to kind of know the year, but even still, that's still a little bit of speculation. Even if we have all of our facts and numbers, the way we think it's going to happen, we tend to think, okay, well, we got it nailed down. But anytime people come out with these specific numbers, like, I added this and this and this and this, and they come up with these kind of complex calculations, and they're dating it to the length of the flood, or from, I don't know, they're just tying a bunch of weird stuff. I just have an issue with that. Tyler and I did ours. It's pretty easy. We're looking at it from kind of a broad perspective, and just looking at it in the order of creation. God created the world 6 days. He rested on the seventh. We can go back right now and look through almost 6,000 years of human history. 2,000 years from Adam to Abraham, 2,000 years from Abraham to Jesus' first coming. And I think we're coming up on the third iteration of this 2,000-year anniversary. It would be from his first coming to his second coming. So we're looking at the signs for the second coming, because the rapture doesn't have signs. It could happen at any moment. But if we're already seeing the infrastructure being built up for the 70th week, and we know the rapture happens prior to, then we know we're all the closer. Do you think AI is involved in rapture date setting to confuse the sleeping church and dishearten the watching church? I think that's going to be increasingly become an issue, and it's going to get worse. So Iron, thank you for bringing that point up, because I watched another channel yesterday or the day before, and they're talking, one of the big concerns with YouTube and Rumble and other things is that people are using it to create content, because the more, like, I could have, let's say I'm one person and I create 5 channels, and I use AI to make all my videos. And you've seen those videos, right? You can tell within just 20, 30 seconds that it's AI because of the way the person talks or whatever. But as that becomes more and more convincing, man, I would not be surprised if they flood YouTube with all these rapture date setting things, and it's just going to get way worse, and people are going to really get burned out. So, we just have to use a lot of discernment. Hammer time. Yeah. People are still entranced with the stupid Joshua stuff. Yep. And one of the bad things that we're guilty of, I guess, is, and I don't say we 310 necessarily, but just, people that are watching in general, is this, we get sucked into this confirmation bias. Joshua comes out and says it's going to be 9/23/24. Then you go to the gas station and your receipt is $9.23. You're like, oh my gosh, $9.23, or whatever. I mean, you could take this to any of the extremes. So we get sucked into this confirmation bias, and it can happen. It happens to the best of people. So we just have to be really cautious and guard our hearts, guard our enthusiasms, use discernment. Go with the teachers you trust. You don't have to trust me, but trust me, Andy Woods. There's other guys that have been around for many, many years saying the same thing. So get grounded in the word and know what the word is. It's like the bank tellers when they say, they don't study all the counterfeits. They just study the real thing, because by studying the real thing, they can notice the counterfeits very quickly. My issue with Joshua, first of all, was that, why would Christ come to this guy specifically who had everything to gain and nothing to lose? I think Christ would come to a person like he went to Saul, and his name was changed from Saul to Paul. He had everything to lose and nothing to gain by converting to Christianity. The same people that he had been spending years persecuting and throwing in jail and murdering. So I think if God was going to reveal this to us, he would have revealed it in such a way that it would be impossible to disprove. Stand Fast. Do you have a podcast or are you just on YouTube? Right now I'm on YouTube, a little bit on Rumble. I just have I use Rumble so infrequently that it's a different setup to post the videos and stuff there. But I've noticed that a lot of the audience in Rumble is different in a lot of ways. But if I ever get banned from YouTube, I'll just go to Rumble. But that's what happened to me. This is Mrs. Beanfriend. I was a newborn Christian and listened to someone on YouTube that the rapture was going to happen on the September 23rd, 2017. They bought a very expensive pair of earrings. It didn't happen. Yeah. This is especially troubling for new Christians or for young Christians or young believers or even young influencers on YouTube that kind of get sucked up into the hype. And I guess, my saving grace is that I've just seen it already. I've been, writing and doing all this stuff since 2011. And I've just seen all the hypes come and go. And that's why I've just adopted the wait and see kind of attitude. But if you just came on board in 2020, 2021, or, when you're just new and it's all exciting and the world's going to end and you're like, you want to believe it, especially if you're in a bad situation, health-wise or relationships or, financial, whatever. It's a comforting belief. It is a blessed hope that Christ is going to take us home. And that's still going to happen. We just don't know exactly when it's going to happen. But I think we can generally have a good idea of when it should happen. And things could shift, right? Yeah, Obscure, I see your comment there. Things could shift. And I do think that there's a shift in the zeitgeist, if you will. It shifted after October 7th, 2023, for sure. Melissa, I hear you too. That, it's bad. Yeah, I think that a lot of the preterists that we have today were people that got burned by, or amillennialists or even post-trib folk that they got burned on some other earlier hyped date, and they just became embittered toward the concept of it. So now they're just, whatever. And that's a tragedy too. Annie, question: how do we as Bible-believing Christians set ourselves apart from being labeled as Christian nationalists, which has become a very derogatory term as of late? That's a good question. So you can be a Christian and you can also love the nation you're in. It doesn't have to be the United States. Let's say you're Canadian, or you're, British or Indian or whatever country you come from, and you have a certain degree of pride because that's where you grew up. That's your family. That's your culture. And there's nothing wrong with that, unless that culture is, completely wicked. If you're from like Nineveh, you're like, I'm a proud Ninevite. No. But I think that you can. I just think that we have to make it clear, I guess, to the friends and families on our feed that, look, I support Trump, but there's going to be things he does that I don't agree with. There's a lot of things within MAGA I don't agree with. That the tent is so big in MAGA that it's brought in so many different groups, and there's bound to be disagreements on everything, because it's such a big tent. It's this big kind of ecumenical movement in the political sense. So I obviously our identity is with Christ. Our citizenship is in heaven. That is first and foremost. We know that Christ is not returning on Air Force One. We know that, God's not a Republican. We just need to make sure that we keep all those things in balance. And I don't know. I've criticized Trump on Twitter before. I just make sure that my criticisms and my praises are kind of they're both there, There's a lot of things within MAGA that I don't agree with. I think my mom's on. Hey, Mom. Let's see. Yeah, and you know what, Linda? I think you're absolutely right. The good thing about false teachers is that Jesus said they would come, and then the end is near. I think we're going to see just Joshua times 1,000. I mean, there's going to be it's already getting like that, but it's going to get worse and worse. Trump could very likely be the Antichrist. You know what? I think the Antichrist is going to be a younger man. To be honest, like he could be Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel to me is interesting character. I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying I look at different kind of characteristics. And Peter Thiel he was born in Germany. So Trump was born in the United States. Elon Musk was born in South Africa. So the Antichrist, whoever the Antichrist is going to become, or whoever he is, has to come from out of the old Roman Empire. So you could say that the U.S. is the old Roman Empire by extension, or we could kind of get into those kind of nuances. But I tend to think it's going to be out of the traditional boundaries of the old Roman Empire, which is still massive. It goes from North Africa to basically Scotland. Lynette, what are your thoughts on the rising Christian nationalism movement? Well, kind of to piggyback off what I just said for the previous question, I think that I don't know that we're going to have to really have that issue for much longer, because we already see this divorce happening within the Christian right or the conservative right over the nation of Israel. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, the people that do Redacted, I can't remember their names. And there's a whole laundry list of, conservative influencers that are pretty much anti-Israel. And, it's getting pretty absurd at this point. But I think that right there is going to be the division, not over whether we agree on Christ, who Jesus is, because a Mormon will tell you they believe in Jesus. A Jehovah's Witnesses will tell you they believe in Jesus. I mean, Muslims will tell you they believe in Jesus. It's who is Jesus to you? Is he your Lord and Savior? Is he God in the flesh? Is he co-equal, co-eternal with the Father and the Holy Spirit? That's the Jesus of the Bible. But if you think that Jesus was the spirit brother of Lucifer, that's not the Jesus of the Bible. If you think that God was a man, used to be a man, and then he became a God, that's not the God of the Bible. The Muslims think they call him Isa, but the Muslims consider Jesus just a prophet. The Buddhists think he is some kind of Maitreya, some kind of a ascended master. Hindus consider him as I don't know what they consider him, but it's like somewhere between a prophet and kind of a god, but not, they have thousands of gods they worship. So Dream, do you believe that the huge move that we are seeing in conservatives coming to faith due to Charlie Kirk could end up being funneled into Catholicism and into the one world religion? I think if they're true conversions, I think they're going to be removed at the rapture. But I do see a lot of ecumenical movements happening right now. So that church in Michigan that was shot up, I mean, I don't know if it was Trump or somebody said that it was one of the Christian churches, it was a Christian church or whatever. And so two things, right? Two things can be true at the same time. One, I can be offended, or I can mourn and grieve with those people that were affected by that shooting. And I could also wish that it could never happen to any other church. And I can totally mourn with the families for their loss. But it can also be true that, we just need to clarify it that, hey, somebody made this statement that the Mormons are Christians, and they're not. I mean, Mormons, when you look at their theology, is more in line with Hindus than they are with Christians. But, then that becomes offensive, and then so many Christian influencers and authors and artists and even pundits will come out and say, well, now is not the time. Well, now is never the time. according to those people. It may be J.D. Vance. I'm not sure who said it. Maybe Trump. I'm not even sure who said they were Christian, but they're not Christian. They're good people. I mean, salt of the earth. I mean, just solid people. But they're not Christian any more than if a Jewish synagogue got shot up. I wouldn't say that they're a Christian church, and it would be offensive to the Jews there that somebody called them Christian. Or if a Hindu, what do they have? Temples? Hindu temple got shot up. I mean, we wouldn't call them Christian. It's a tragedy, nevertheless. Anybody getting shot anywhere is a tragedy. I don't think that should happen anywhere, but Katniss Cat. Let's see. Been wondering about the 144,000. They must somehow be getting in line with future prophecy. Are they currently in Israel? Big spiritual awakening in Israel. I don't even know if they are. They could be children. I mean, to me, they would be children, because to be virgin and to be, completely in a state of innocence, or, somewhere between 5 and, I don't know, 19 or so, could be God preserved them from another time, another place. Maybe during the Holocaust, there was 1,000 that were set aside, or whatever the case is, maybe over 2,000 years. We don't know enough about where they come out of. I don't know if there's 144,000 Jewish male virgins in Israel right now. And there could be, I have no idea. So I think that's one of those things that we know it will happen. We just are not sure exactly how that's going to happen. Hammer Time said, Trump said that. Yeah, Trump is pretty loose with his theology, which is not a good thing. I mean, he has Paula White as a spiritual advisor. Let's see. Now, what I think what gets lost in this message here is that even without the shooting at that church in Michigan, the Mormon church or Mormon temple, I'm not sure what they call it, there is always a time and a place, right? And I get that. And regardless of the time and the place, though, is the means in which we convey a message. Even if nothing tragic had happened, we should still not go and just, finger point at Mormons and be like, you're hell, you're in a cult, you're going to hell. Paul says that in 1 Corinthians 13, that, whatever we do, it needs to be done out of love. And without love, we're just clanging cymbals. We're just making noise, and we're driving people away. We can have truth, but give it to them in love, and I think that is the best way to do it. Just Vicky, I do say that if the Mormons attempt to do their good works, they can put the Christians and believers to shame. I mean, yeah, that's what Glenn Beck was touting, all the great things Mormons do. And they tie their exaltedness, their godhood, to their works now. So they take this stuff very seriously, more serious than many Christians do. But it goes back to legalism, that they think that they're saved by grace through faith after all you can do. So it's now dependent upon you. And the bad thing is, you never know what is all you can do. I mean, you don't know what that is. Maybe you could do one more thing and one more thing and one more thing. I think it was J.D. Rockefeller, or I can't remember which of one of the early 20th century oil barons or titans of industry, billionaire guy. Somebody asked him, like, when is enough money, or how much is when do you say you have enough? And he said, just one more dollar. And well, take that for what it's worth. Just one more dollar. It'll never end. I just want the truth of where we are at prophetically. To that end, I'm seeking God, studying scripture, nothing wrong with it. Yeah, well, we're at the end of the church age. The dispensation of the church is coming to its end. It had a beginning, it's going to have an end. God's child forever. Do you think that Trump is the rider on the white horse? I thought that the rider on the Antichrist were the same thing. Am I wrong? I don't think he is the rider on the white horse. But here's the thing: the rider on the white horse, the first rider that is unleashed with the opening of the seals judgments and their judgments. We don't know if it's a individual or if it's a system that comes riding forth first, because the rider on the red horse, the black horse, and the pale horse, they don't seem to be. They might be spiritually, they might be riding forth in a very literal sense, but in the spiritual realm as the rider on the white horse. But it might unleash the system of the Antichrist, the beast kingdom that might rise up, and then out of the beast kingdom comes the man that takes over, and he ends up taking control over all of the whole system. It's kind of like the Nazis in the Third Reich. The Third Reich was the corporate expression of Adolf Hitler's, political and religious beliefs, all kind of philosophical beliefs, all rolled into one. But then Hitler becomes a personification of the Third Reich. So he is the face of the Third Reich. So those two are indistinguishable from each other, yet they're expressed in two different ways. One is the man, the other is the system, but they're both the same. They both represent the same. And that's why I think you see that in Revelation 13. There is both, it seems like the system, and then there also seems like it's the man himself. Well, guys, it is 5:40 right now. Sorry, I don't know if I missed any questions here, but I think I need to get ready for the other live stream I'm about to go on. So I need to comb my hair and brush my teeth and probably change shirts and stuff. Dan, what is up? Dan the man. Charlie Kirk was a true believer, but his organization was ecumenical. Absolutely. No denominations in heaven. That's right. We'll all be under the one system, Christ's perfect system. All right. So if you guys can either go to Britt Gillette's or John Holler's, if you plan on attending tonight to the roundtable, we'd love to see you there. I'm going to log off here. I just wanted to test the system out tonight to make sure everything was working. And aside from the sun behind me, being a little bit too bright, as the night gets darker, I can adjust the light on this thing too. And it's just a better quality camera. But thank you guys for coming on, and I appreciate you. And we'll talk to you guys in a little bit.